Okay, we are recording.
Perfect. All right.
How are you?
Good, good. How about you?
I'm good. Yeah, sorry about that. I was out and didn't realize it was 7:30, so just came back.
No worries. No worries at all.
Yeah, these last few days have been just super slow. I don't know.
Oh, work-wise or?
Yeah, just work-wise, just felt really slow actually. Lazy, slow. I've also
Yeah,
been taking
yeah.
things very slowly.
It's the start of fall season. It gets cold
I
and
think
people are
so,
going
yeah.
to
I think it's the seasonal change also that suddenly your
right,
body also got it.
right, right.
But Krishna describes in the second chapter, right, that the change of seasons, you got to tolerate the change of seasons also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Part and parcel of living.
Part and parcel, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he talks about the yoga ladder actually in that chapter as we go.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I can actually briefly touch on the idea of yoga. Have you heard of the yoga ladder?
No.
Okay, so yoga ladder it's a ladder essentially, right? And yoga, you know the word yoga, right? The
Right.
word yoga comes from Sanskrit yuj. Yuj means to unite, right? To join. So even the English word yoke also comes from yog.
Mm-hmm.
So yog, union. Actually, it's very interesting how the English and Latin words they all have similar root in Sanskrit. If you can trace.
Yeah, because they look at like Sanskrit is the root for so many languages,
Yeah.
even
Yep.
Malayalam and German
Yep.
and all those. It's the root,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where you see the words like mother, right? Mother
Ah,
in Sanskrit we have matra, right?
right,
Mata, matra. So matra became mater in Latin, and
right.
that becomes mother. And
Mm-hmm.
pita is pitra. Pitar becomes pater. So we have paternal, right? Paternal relationships that became father. So
Mm-hmm.
similarly, there are numerous words actually. If you start looking at it, that in even in English language, some of them are almost as if in your face. Actually, some of the words.
Yeah.
For example, oh man, I forgot the word actually. I recently was just thinking about it and I realized that wow, it's the similarities. Anyway, it will come back to me. But the idea is that so the Bhagavad Gita goes through. So to understand the structure of Bhagavad Gita, just think of it as a ladder. So just like from ladder, you go from one ring to another, one rung, I guess, one rung to another rung to third rung to ultimately at the top of the ladder, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it unites. It's a connection between understanding the living entity and the supreme, the divinity, and then how
Mm-hmm.
you can cross from one rung to another rung. So the lowest rung of that ladder is the conditioned life in which we live today,
Mm-hmm.
which is affected by the modes of material nature and the identification that we put on ourselves,
Right.
such as I am a male, I am a female, I am a Hindu, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Christian, I'm a Jew, I am an
Right.
American, I'm a Chinese, right? I am a follower of this religion, I'm a follower of that religion, I support the Lakers, I support the Dodgers, right? So all
Yeah.
of these identities are what we take in conditioned life because we get conditioned. So these are just like dresses. Krishna describes them in the second chapter, and I guess that's the verse we'll look at today. Is
Mm-hmm.
that these are dresses that we wear, and we get attached to the dresses. So I'm a green shirt person, or they're a red shirt person, so I don't like them. So essentially it's all outwardly. Actually, all of even our just like we don't discriminate people on the basis of their dress, although people are doing it today. But ideally
Yeah.
we shouldn't, because we realize that underneath the dress is a human. So similarly, Krishna
Right.
explains that people who truly understand bhakti yoga, who truly come to this point of self realization, they can see themselves and they can see others as the spirit souls. And if Arjuna, if you also see them with the same eyes, then you will have no worry to fight. You will have no reason to worry about killing somebody, because you're realizing that you are essentially engaging in your duty, and you're realizing that nothing kills the living entity. So really that's the lowest rung, is the conditioned life. So then we go into karma yoga. So if you see Bhagavad Gita, right, so it starts with the first chapter, that's introduction, and then
Mm-hmm.
essentially second chapter to the sixth chapter are part of karma yoga.
Mm-hmm.
So karma yoga is described as in how can you understand the supreme through actions, through your karma. What is an action? How do we perform action? What are our duties? How do we use those duties to connect with the Lord, because essentially the duties that we perform, the actions that we perform, can take us away from the divinity or can take us towards the divinity. So essentially it's both. Either way it can go. So that's where
Mm.
Krishna explains that this is how you do it. Then chapter 7, it's not directly, but chapter 7 to 12 is Bhakti Yoga of Bhagavad Gita. So
Mm.
that's what gives about what is bhakti, actually, how you perform bhakti, how is it different from just pure knowledge, and what does it mean to actually connect with the supreme. And the last 6 chapters from 13 to 18, they talk about jnana yoga. So
Mm.
this ladder of yoga is, the first rung is bhakti yoga. So you do bhakti, sorry, first rung is karma yoga. So you have the ground, and then you climb up the first, and that's karma yoga. So that's one step. Then next step is jnana yoga, through understanding this divinity through intelligence, through knowledge. And then is Ashtanga Yoga or Kriya Yoga, essentially doing various yogic postures and asanas and exercises and mechanically controlling the body and the senses and the mind to understand the Supreme. And the final step is Bhakti Yoga, where we finally understand the Supreme. So, if truly understood Gita in the right way, we can directly jump from the first to the last rung and we can climb up using Bhakti Yoga. Because if you perform Bhakti Yoga, then all the other initial steps of yoga are already included in it. So that's essentially the entire lesson of Bhagavad Gita, is to completely come to the point above goodness, above passion, above ignorance, and completely realizing that I have a connection with the Supreme, and then completely being established in that relationship. So that's the yoga ladder. It's been utilized in many examples. Many teachers talk about it. You can find many presentations online also that people
Okay.
give regarding what yoga ladder is. So that gives kind of a good structure in order to understand how Bhagavad Gita is and how it is
I
laid out.
thought, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought you said Gyan Yoga was the last one. So you start with,
So
uh,
the chapters are laid out. So there is a difference between how the chapters are laid out and how the ladder is structured. Okay. Yeah.
oh,
So
okay.
the chapters are laid out as Karma Yoga from 1 to 6,
Yeah,
Bhakti Yoga from 7 to 12, and Gyan
okay.
Yoga from 13 to 18.
Okay.
Right.
But the
But
ladder is different from the,
yeah, but
okay.
ladder is not in, so in ladder is not in that sequence. So the ladder in the bottom is conditioned life, then we have karma,
Uh-huh.
jnana, ashtanga or kriya yoga, and then we have bhakti yoga. So that's the difference. And essentially, I mean, so the division of Bhagavad Gita in these chapters, it's not absolute. This is these are the general themes, I would say. So if you read the first to 6 chapters, the general theme you would get
Got it.
is that karma is essential.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If you read 7 to 12, then you will essentially understand the principles of bhakti. He talks about what bhakti is, how you perform bhakti, right? Bhakti
Okay.
as in devotion yoga. And
Right.
then
Mhm.
13 to 18 finally gives like what is kshetra. Like 13 chapter talks about who is Ishvara, what are his qualities, what are the modes of nature, what are the qualities of people who have divine qualities, what are the qualities of people who have more material qualities in them. So essentially that's
Okay.
what. So these are the themes. Although 18th chapter, like for example, that directly goes back into Bhakti Yoga. So you can
Hmm.
again read Bhakti Yoga in the 18th chapter. But that's the essential idea, that these are the main
Hmm.
themes. And there are
Okay.
5 topics in the Bhagavad Gita also. So these are
Uh-huh.
the division of chapter, then the ladder. And if you want to distill Bhagavad Gita to understand what are the 5 things that are talked about, so then the 5 things that Bhagavad Gita describes is the first is Jiva. Jiva as in who's the living entity. So it has information about Jiva. Then it has Ishvara. That means who is the supreme. Then it has information about Prakriti. That is the nature, material nature. Then it has information about Kala. Kala means time. And finally, it has information about karma or action. So
Okay.
Ishvara, Jiva, Prakriti, Kala, and Karma are the 5 broad themes of Bhagavad Gita, are completely explained in the Bhagavad Gita.
Hmm.
Out of these 5, 4 of them are eternal and one of them is not.
Hmm.
So the Lord, that is Ishvara, the Jiva, the living entity, right?
Mm-hmm.
The Kala and and Prakriti are eternal, but actions are not eternal. Karma is the only
Okay.
thing that's not eternal, because karma has a beginning and an end. But Ishvara is forever eternal. That we cannot say that God was born at this point in time. No, he has been there, he is there, and he will continue to be here. Similarly, Jiva
Mm,
also has no end or a beginning. Jiva always existed, always. They
yeah.
always existed
Mm,
eternally.
uh,
Prakriti also always exists. It is it gets manifested, it disappears, but it always exists. The idea of Prakriti always exists. This material nature, I mean. Kala,
okay.
time always eternally exists because time can never go back. So some people talk about the idea of time travel, but the scriptures say that it's not possible because time is eternally flowing in one direction.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there is no, so time travel is not accounted for. Like for example, if you can go back in the past, you can get a similar kind of time in future. For example, Kali Yuga can happen again in cyclical nature. So
Yeah.
essentially, if you are here, let's say you are in 2020 of Kali Yuga today, you might be able to travel to 1962 of of a different Kali Yuga, but essentially, which might resemble the history of what we are seeing today, but it's not in the same universe. It's a
Correct.
different
Correct.
universe,
Yeah.
but its time
Right.
still flows in the, or it might be in the same universe, but it's not in the same Kali Yuga. It's a different Kali Yuga in the future. So that's how it flows. But karma, on the other hand, is temporary. So if you look at the introduction of Bhagavad Gita at some time, yeah, if you have never not read the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, it's an phenomenal introduction to Bhagavad Gita. The It's one of the best introductions that I've read to any books actually out there. It
Mm,
gives complete, it flows beautifully. It gives complete structure to how Bhagavad Gita is. So some of these points are actually mentioned there. It talks about the yoga ladder also. It talks about different verses and how the story flows. So sometimes people have difficulty regarding Bhagavad Gita, but that introduction that Prabhupada wrote, he actually gave it as a lecture in New York City.
mm,
So that
okay.
it's a very well it's a very well written introduction. So that's
Mm,
the essential point in Bhagavad Gita. So that's how it starts, and then the first chapter, right? We have understood. We saw it last time also that Arjuna sees the army, becomes overwhelmed, feels
mhm,
compassion,
mhm.
doesn't realize that he will get enjoyment in the victory, doesn't
Right.
is fearful of sinful reactions, right? He's concerned about destroying his family, and so ultimately he decides, I don't want to fight.
Mm,
I can't fight, right? So then second chapter, Krishna gives two things actually. He gives first of all the analytical study of um, of um, to convince Arjuna that what is the understand the analytical nature of the soul, right? And then he gives the action, the second idea of Buddhi Yoga. So Krishna tells Arjuna that I will give you two things, Arjuna. So first he says that I'll give you the analytical study called Sankhya, as in to understand logically you can understand. So that's where he describes the nature of the soul. And then in the second half is he gives Buddhi Yoga. So Buddhi Yoga is how you can do karma, what is true intelligence, and how you can use intelligence. So you see Bhagavad Gita has a flow. And so the third chapter, when Krishna gives the science of intelligence, then Arjuna immediately asks, so the third chapter immediately begins with the question that, okay, Krishna, you talk about intelligence and action. If you think that intelligence is better, then why do you want me to engage in this ghastly warfare? If you think that intelligence is better, right? So basically, Krishna gives the idea of intelligence. So now that's where I think we were, right? Last time we were like midway, I guess, of in
yeah.
the second chapter. Did
Yeah.
you have any
Second.
questions in the meantime, or we can just look at
No,
second
no, this
chapter?
is good.
Okay.
I am glad you covered those basics again
Mm, mm.
because you tend to get into other pieces and you miss the root of
The
it.
bigger picture, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm a big fan actually of always remembering the bigger picture as to
Yeah.
why we are reading, what we are reading, why is it important, right? Because otherwise, you said it right, we forget. And
Right.
essentially, that happens with many of the religious practices today, right?
Correct. Correct.
People don't know why they are doing certain activities, right?
Right.
Oh, we just do it, or it's just a matter of festival. No, you got to understand why we need to do, so that we can even adapt it according to the time, place, and circumstances. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we get into fanaticism, right? People become fanatics
Correct.
about it. Oh, this is
Correct.
how it should be done. Oh, if you don't follow this, then and then this, you've seen this religious nonsense that happens in India and
Oh
other
yeah. Yeah.
places, then, right? That they
Yep.
start
Yep.
killing or
Yep. Which is so
anything.
stupid, right? I mean,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
to think people have gone through their books, but the way they interpret it, it's so
Yeah,
bad.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happens when you're focusing on details and when you don't realize the bigger picture.
Right.
Why is it spoken? And then you can actually understand and apply it differently according to different place and
Yeah.
circumstances. But
Yeah.
um people become, this is the word and this is what it is, and we can't go above and beyond. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So
I think everybody needs a guru, a
yeah,
genuine guru who can
yep,
explain the real
yep, yep.
versus priests who are more like, how much am I getting for my lecture today?
Exactly, yeah. So that's why it says the Mundaka Upanishad talks about an ideal guru. It talks about, it says that Samit Pani Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam. That a true guru is Brahmanishtam. He's a great devotee actually. So
Yeah,
if you truly want to get a good guru, find somebody who's a great devotee of the Lord.
I agree. I totally
Because
agree with you on that.
because if
Yeah.
somebody is not a devotee, they might give good arguments, good logic. They might have these conversational power, but they may not be a guru actually.
Yeah.
They'll lead you astray. And
Right.
it comes up actually right now. I'm reading Bhagavatam fourth canto,
Uh-huh.
and in the fourth canto you have the story of King Prithu. So King Prithu is performing 100 Ashwamedha yagyas. So he
Okay.
performs 100 Ashwamedh yagyas. He comes in the line of Prahlad, not Prahlad, sorry, Dhruva. So there's the
Uh-huh.
story of Dhruva Charitra,
Yeah.
then many kingdoms after Dhruva passed, then comes King Vena, who commits many atrocities in the name of religion. So Vena is killed, and then his son is Prithu. Prithu is
Mm,
a Sakyavish avatar form of the Lord. So he's specifically empowered by the Lord to perform certain functions to restore situation on the earth. So that's
mm,
when Prithu comes here. So Prithu is performing 100 Ashwamedh yagyas. He's
mm,
doing all these just to restore balance on the earth. He's inviting all of these people. He's making sure things are done properly. But Indra gets jealous. He said that how
mm,
can you perform 100 yagyas? So what Indra does is after the 99th yagya is performed, Indra comes and steals the horse
mm.
in the garb of a of a guru, of a teacher, of a
Uh-huh.
sannyasi. So he comes in the garb of a monk and steals the horse. And so Prithu and they don't do anything because they think that it's a sannyasi. But
Mm,
essentially, the other sages in the assembly, they said that no, this is Indra. He's dressing up as a sannyasi. So Maitreya
mm,
Muni describes there that actually this nonsense that we see today started with Indra actually.
mm,
That people who are not qualified will also pose as these great teachers, although they
mhm,
might have great conversational ability, they might speak
mm,
fluently, they might speak logically. You would think that wow, what a speaker.
mm,
But they won't have devotion in their heart. They will cheat you, because
mm,
essentially what happens is that Krishna describes in the ninth chapter that you lead your life by following somebody. You either follow your senses, you either follow material role models, or you either follow people who are dead, or you either follow me, or you either follow demigods. So whoever you follow, that's the destination you will get. He says in
mm,
ninth chapter, 25th verse, Yanti Deva Vrata Devan, that if you follow devtas you will go back to the demigods. If you
mhm,
follow pitras you'll go to pitra. If you follow living entities you'll go wherever they end up, and if you follow me you'll come to me. It's as simple as that, very simple
mm,
understanding. So if we are
mm.
constantly thinking of a cricket player, right, or of a politician all the time, that's what goes in our psyche, in our consciousness, then we'll end up where that politician will about to be end up
Mm.
after this life. So if he dies and if he ends up in a hellish planets, in a lower
Yeah.
planetary system, then that's where you'll end up. You keep thinking about them. If you keep
Yeah.
thinking about Amitabh Bachchan or Aishwarya Rai or Bollywood actors or Hollywood actors, then that's where you'll end up. Wherever they will
Yeah.
end up, yeah, that's the same place you will go. So
Mm.
it's very simple. If you follow demigods, then you will stay. If you follow Devi, we worship Durga. Some people, we don't worship Lord
Yeah.
Krishna, Shiva.
Yeah.
Then you will end up where Durga is. Durga lives in the material world, so you will be in the
Right.
material world. But
Yeah.
if you follow ancestors, some people, they can't get over their ancestors, right? Or oh, my
Yeah.
husband died, or my wife died, or my father died, or my
Yeah.
brother died, and that's the only thing that they are thinking about. Then they will also end up wherever that person ended up.
Oh.
So if you follow Krishna, if you think about Krishna, if you remember him, then you'll end up with Krishna. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Krishna is equal opportunity employer. So he gives equal opportunity to everyone. So you decide.
Yeah.
It's up to you how you want to progress and proceed. So he's equal.
Yeah.
He gives equal chances. If you remember him, then he'll help you. If you don't, then you decide. You decide wherever you want to go. He's available for
Mm.
everyone. Essentially, that's the point. So nobody is eternally damned to hell that, oh, I don't like these people. No, he gives equal opportunity to everyone. You
Uh-huh.
choose. So we
Mm-hmm.
choose essentially. So it's our choice. So based
Mm-hmm.
on
Free
our
will, right?
choice, we decide. Sorry.
Yeah. It's part of free will.
Yes, that's our free will. So we choose
Mhm.
where we want to end up. It's as simple as that. We want to live here, Krishna will make arrangements for us to live here. We want to
Mm.
fly, he'll give us a body of a bird we can fly. If you
Mm.
have slightly better karma, I mean, we talked about it, right? That if you have
Yes.
worse karma, you'll get a mosquito body. You'll still fly, but
Yeah.
you'll lead a life of a mosquito. If you have a better karma, you may get eagle. Or
Yeah.
even better, you might become commercial pilot for Delta. Who knows, right? I mean, you are still flying, so we never know how the law of karma works actually, because we don't know what we have sown previously, what we are
Yes.
sowing currently, what desires we have, what ideas we have. But the most important thing that trumps all of this is our desire. Ultimately, what do we really want? That's
Mm.
essentially what decides that whatever we focus our attention on, that's where we go. Because
Right.
it doesn't matter, you might have horrible karma, horrible reactions waiting for you, but if you decide that no, Lord, I choose you, then he will arrange for a guru to come. He'll arrange for situations that your karma will be taken care of. And
Yeah.
that's the idea that
Yeah.
Jesus spoke, right? That I'll take care of your all sinful reactions. They say, right, that Jesus
Yeah.
died for our sins. What does that mean? It means that if you truly follow what he mentioned, what he said, then your sinful reactions will go because you're choosing God. But if you're saying that, oh, Jesus died for our sins, but we got to commit more atrocities, then that's not
Yeah.
what your desire is. So Krishna reciprocates based on your desire. It's as simple as that. So if you
So,
want to,
one of the links you had shared had a very interesting article on Christ, saying that Christ is like Christo, Krishna.
yes, exactly. Christ, the word Christ comes from the Sanskrit word Krishna. Krishna means
Mm.
Krishna. And
Mm.
it's the same. Like Krishna in Sanskrit actually comes from Akrashta, right? Akarshan. So Akrishta. So
Ah.
that's the root. So that's where Christ came from. And very similar, actually, Jesus. For example, the Bible doesn't talk about 18 years of Jesus Christ, where he was. So from
Yeah.
the age of 12 to the age of 30, it's not mentioned. It said that he grew
Right.
up in wisdom, and that's it. Just one
Right.
verse from the book of Matthew. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
But there
Mm-hmm.
is an increasing evidence that he traveled in India.
Right.
Actually, there are
Yes.
evidences where he was in India. And if you can,
Yeah.
even if you don't believe, if you just believe his pure teachings, right? It's not different from
Mm.
what we are reading here today.
Correct.
He gave them
Right.
what they needed. Actually, he
Right.
said that there are many things that I have not told you about. There are
Yeah.
books, gospels, which said that I have not told you about the divine brothers. That's what Jesus says. Now, who are the divine brothers, right? We understand that that's Krishna Balram. We understand from our understanding.
Mm.
But he gave them, but they people couldn't understand. So he gave them that, all right, my father had 10 commandments. I only have two, you know,
Mm.
worship the Lord with all your heart and soul and love your neighbor as thyself. That's it. He
Mm.
just gave them two
Mm.
commandments out of the 10 and said that just follow them, you will come. So essentially, you'll purify yourself. And because you have the desire to remember Lord, to surrender to the Lord, you will essentially achieve that desire and you'll come up to that. So that
Mm-hmm.
was
Mm-hmm.
essentially the point of Christ.
Right.
So
Mm.
same thing. It's ultimately a desire at the end of the day. What do we really want? Do we want? If we want to stay here, then we will stay here. It's as simple as that. If we want to go home to Krishna, to the Lord, if you want to get spiritual life, then we'll get that. That's the thing. The it is said that the worst part about material life is not that you ask for something and you don't get. It's you ask for something and you get it. That's the worst part here.
Hmm.
And then you realize that
Okay.
you get it, and then you're like, oh no, I didn't want this, I wanted something else, and you turn to immediately something else. And that's the cycle of birth and
Ah.
death, right? That's essentially why birth and death happens, because we don't know what we want. There's an
Yeah, but
exercise
hmm.
that's performed, right? That, for example, you are sitting in front of a wish fulfilling tree, right? You have a wish fulfilling tree, it's called kalpa vriksha. That
Uh-huh.
whatever you desire you can get from this tree, whatever you can desire. Right now, what would you like to desire, right? What would you want? And
Um,
people have no clue, like, what do I
yeah,
ask for, right? What should
think
I
about
ask?
that. Yeah.
What does really matter? So essentially it's our desire. So because we don't know what we really want, we look for these shiny little bells and whistles around
Correct.
us. Oh,
Correct.
this looks neat, and we get that. Oh, that looks neat. So bhoga
Yeah.
tyaga, bhoga tyaga. That's the cycle of bhoga tyaga that Krishna describes towards the end of second chapter. We
Hmm.
ask for something and then we let it go, and then we ask for something else and we let it go, and the
Yeah, but
cycle
then it
continues.
is fault too, right? In a way, when we are born, we are made to forget where we come from.
Yes, so that we can
So,
truly enjoy. Actually, that's the reason why. If we couldn't forget, then we won't be able to desire. You see, the
mm,
living entities, if they were unable to forget, if they remember the trauma from past life, then they cannot enjoy in this life. Because
yeah,
the reason we came here is because of a desire. The reason we were born in this particular circumstances is because of a particular reason. We all have that purpose. Many people say, right, you got to identify the purpose of your life.
yes,
So essentially
yes,
that's what the purpose of this human body is. It's not the purpose of the living entity. We get this body because we had a specific thing in mind. Some people wanted to be compassionate, some people wanted to earn money, some people wanted to spend money, some people came here for seeking revenge. They were killed unfairly in a previous life, so they come here, they commit that murder, and then they disappear. So
oh,
everything is based on how we chose from a previous lifetime. Our decisions, our personalities that we see today, right? Some people like certain colors, some people like certain activities. I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert, I like doing this. Many
yeah,
people, they give their facets of their personalities. It's all based on the desire of the living entity, the nature of the mind that we are bringing with us, because our
mm,
mind goes with us every single body. The physical body remains, but the mind travels with us,
mm,
because mind houses
mm,
intelligence and the
mm,
false ego. So mind always goes, so from this body to the next body. That's why certain kids are prodigies, right? They're born and
yeah,
immediately they exhibit these incredible characteristics. Or some people,
mm,
from a very early age, you can see some disturbing signs, right? That there's something wrong here, because it is carried in the mind. So these prarabdha, these are kind like seeds planted, like impressions on our mind,
mm,
almost like a layer. So if you have glasses, right, if you put green color on it, then the world is green. If you put blue on
right,
it, then the world is blue. So these are basically glass. Our mind is like a screen, and it is covered with all these layers that we have gradually accumulated. So
mm,
essentially that's how we see the world. So somebody has different shades of gray, somebody has different shades of gray. So essentially that's how we differentiate between two people. But
mm,
ultimately these are the desires we are born with, so we choose, we have that choice. Abraham Lincoln once said an incredible thing. He said it in terms of elections, but essentially, the best way to predict the future is to choose it. So you
mm.
choose it. So to find out where we are heading, we have to decide what choices are we making today. If we are choosing material life, material goals, material education, then that's where we'll end up. If we are prioritizing spiritual life, then that's where we'll end up. It's as
So
simple as that.
basically, with karma, whatever we do,
Yeah.
it comes back to us.
Yes.
But if we choose that, okay, knowingly now I want to change my lifestyle, I want to go
Yes.
more towards Krishna, I can let go of that karma and I don't have to repeat this cycle.
The karma is taken care of by the process then. So then you engage in a process, right? Once you choose, then you got to follow a process, right? Just like anything, if you want to become um, a government official, right, or a lawyer, then you have to go through law school, right, and then that
Mm-hmm.
trains you up. So similarly, once you decide to go on the path of understanding the Lord, then you go through this process, right? So you understand the scriptures, and then when
Yeah.
you follow a process of a yoga, which is bhakti yoga, which is the best kind of yoga that's available, because that directly
Yeah.
puts us in connection with Him. So we
Yeah.
follow bhakti yoga essentially by practicing bhakti yoga. Immediately our karmic reactions start disappearing away. He takes care of it.
Oh.
Krishna says, I take care of your karmic reactions. Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo. I will take care of sarva papebhyo, all of your reactions, negative reactions.
Hmm.
Moksha
Oh,
ishyami
that's
ma shuchaha.
okay. So everybody has a chance even in this life, and they
Everyone,
can choose
every
not
single
to
one can
come back.
completely wipe off, completely wipe off. It's our
Hmm.
desire at the end of the day.
Hmm.
It's as simple as that. You desire, you get it. That's the thing. Krishna loves us so much that you desire him, he gives you. You desire his energy, he gives you his energy to enjoy with, to play with, and you change your desire, and then you change your desire, so you get a different body. If you desire that I want to have a really long life in the material world, and I want to have that one desire, for example, that's why these sages, right, in upper planetary system, they have lifetimes. Like Brahma has a lifetime of 311 trillion
Correct.
years, right?
Correct.
That's the age of Brahma,
Right.
311 trillion years. So
mm,
Brahma had just had one desire. I want to create. I want to do engage in this activity. So that's what the life he got, because he just has that one desire. So it's not
uh,
necessary for him to frequently change the body. He
uh,
just lives that. Similarly, somebody might have very fickle desires. For example, jivas here in the material world. So in human body, you can fulfill many desires, and whatever desire you end up with, leave your body with. That dictates your next life. And by our
uh,
actions today, we are kind of, it's almost like ordering a dress, right? You go to a tailor
uh,
and you decide, hey, I want this. I want green color here, green that, blue that, this that. I want frills
mm,
here, the material should be velvet here, linen here. So
mm.
similarly, we are based on our choices. We are almost deciding what kind of body would we want next
Yeah, that
by
is
our
so
actions today.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, we are
Um,
choosing every moment.
I remember reading about kids in Sudan, right, where they show in Ethiopia and Sudan they are dying of thirst and there's famine and everything,
Hmm,
flies on their body, and then it's like you feel so sorry for them. But
hmm.
then one article's like, no, they chose to go through this experience. This allows them to ascend faster
So there
and
is
experience it
yeah,
better.
that could be a very good reason, or it could also be some reactions that that particular entity is suffering. That sometimes you don't have that choice. Sometimes you committed so much atrocities in one lifetime that you are, unfortunately, you're given a body where you are suffering in a way, and then once
Oh,
that's over, then you're given a choice again. So essentially
oh,
it can be that also. For
mm,
example, there are many kids who are born with life threatening diseases, right?
correct. Yeah,
How do we explain that? People ask, right, sometimes, like, this question, that how can you
yeah,
explain that God is compassionate when you see suffering all around? The
right.
answer is simple. The living entity chooses it. The living entity
Yeah.
chose it. That's why he's going through it. It's as simple as that. You choose it. God has really nothing to do with it. God sometimes, it is described that even Krishna sometimes uh, get wonders, that, oh my goodness, living entity, is this really what you're choosing now?
Uh,
He sometimes gets wonders that, wow, you're doing this. So it's essentially really up to us how we
mm,
decide and where we end up going and what we end up choosing.
hmm,
So purify the desire. Essentially, that's the idea. Just truly know what you really want, and just go for it. That's the point. And that's why George Harrison, the great Beatle, when he was reading the Bhagavad Gita, he wrote actually that everybody's searching for Krishna, because everybody's searching for that permanent love, that
mm,
permanent source of happiness, because essentially we are all looking for happiness. We
mm.
think we can find happiness through this way, through that way, but no, we can truly find happiness by truly
Temporary.
connecting with the
Yeah,
source. So it's as
right, right.
simple as that. So that's where true happiness lies. We think we might get happiness, if I move to this country, or if I get this much money every year, or if I become this, or if I get all these riches, or if I buy that beach house, different mindsets, or if I can get a Nobel Prize, whatever, if I can climb the Himalayas, whatever it is, different living entities think that after they achieve it, that will be my happiness. But no, actually, that's the point. We see people who have even achieved these great things are also again back in the pleasure hunt. Now what?
Correct.
Right? So it's
Yeah,
essentially that idea. So once you
yeah.
truly understand that my connection is with the Supreme, I just need to identify how to connect with him and have truly strongly desire. He will take care of it all. There's a story of Khatwanga, King Khatwanga. So King
Okay.
Khatwanga was a king many, many years ago, many generations ago. Not even in Kali Yuga, I would say Sat Yuga. It's given in Bhagavatam.
Okay.
So
Huh.
King Khatwanga was told by certain sages that you have pleased us. You have pleased us by
Mm,
your actions. What benediction do you want?
mm,
So he said that, I just want to know one thing. Just answer a simple question and answer. I don't want any gains. Just answer me one thing. How long do I have live
mm,
before I die, before I leave this body?
mm,
So the sages said that, are you sure you can get anything, whatever you want? He said that, yeah, yeah, that's all fine. I just want to know how long will I be in this body.
mm,
And the sages said that, okay, the answer is that you just have one moment. That's it. This
mm.
this is the moment, and then you'll die. So
Okay.
King Khatwanga immediately surrendered to the Lord. Immediately, he said that, my Lord, I belong to you. I come to you, and I truly desire to reunite with you, and I
Ah,
surrender unto you. And immediately he went back to Godhead. Immediately.
oh, wow.
So it just takes that desire, because essentially we all have one moment. So the idea is we also have one moment,
Mm,
this moment right now, right? Can you choose for
mm,
something like after 2 hours? that, you know
No,
what, no, you have this moment.
unbelievable.
It's
Yeah.
this moment, right? Essentially, we are just moving from one moment to another moment. So when
Yeah.
Krishna says Satatam Kirtayantamam, the 24 hours remember me, Arjuna, and then fight. So essentially, it's the point that we live with the understanding that my Lord, I belong to you. And because I belong to you and I love you, I will follow what you tell me, what you have laid
Mm,
out for me, because by that process, it's for my own benefit, my own purification. So
mm,
that's the idea. So that's why we follow Krishna's instructions. That's why we should read the Bhagavad Gita for our own
mm.
purification of our desires so that we can truly come to Him and understand Him. That's the goal.
Can we do it for other people, or
We can
this has to
help
be?
them. No, it's individual living entity. What
Mm,
we can do is we can give them Sukriti. So Sukriti is pious credits. So you can give them food that you offer to Krishna and
yeah.
feed them, so that way they can get. You can send them books, right? That
Uh,
hey, read it. You can engage them in reading and discussion with you. You can engage them in kirtan. You can sing kirtan with them. You can sing for them. You can give them beads, japa, and then they can chant Hare Krishna. So you can
mm,
do all of these things. Or sometimes
mm.
what you can do is you chant Hare Krishna mantra on your beads, and you said that let the credit goes to this other person.
Okay. Okay.
So that way they gain Sukriti. So Sukriti,
Mm.
essentially what will that do is that person will get more opportunities to connect with the Lord,
Yeah.
and that will purify their heart's desire. But ultimately every living entity for themselves.
Yeah.
They have to choose ultimately. That's why
Yeah.
sometimes people who get great gurus in their life also don't take the advantage. And somebody
Mm.
who's, for example, in India, right? In India, we have all this knowledge, but you see people, right? They want material benefits, material education, they want material lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
And then we have Americans here who are actually reading the Bhagavad Gita, taking up, right? People living in Russia, people living in China, taking up these things. Because
Yeah.
it's living entities, it doesn't matter where you appear. If you desire, then Krishna will make the arrangement. So it doesn't matter if
Yeah.
I'm born in Afghanistan or if I'm born in a hellish planet. If I truly desire, then Krishna will make it happen. But the human body is better equipped for me to understand these higher truths. In other life forms, it's very difficult for me to achieve. But in human
Oh.
life form, it's very easy. So that's why we should take
Oh.
full advantage. Excuse me.
Bless you.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay. So, but in that other life form, probably
Yeah.
the whatever Krishna form is there, or whatever Brahma lives are there, um, the rules might be different, right, compared to the Earth rules.
Yeah, essentially, I mean, the nature would be different, the body type would be different, but the
Yeah.
nature of we still have a mind in that body, right? We still have the
Yeah.
powers to choose. We might
Yeah.
get a book in a different format. We might, it
Correct.
is said that the Srimad Bhagavatam in Kali Yuga on this planet, on Earth, is only 12 cantos, 18 cantos or 12 volumes. Sorry, 12 cantos and 18 volumes.
Right.
But in other planets, it is 64 volumes.
Wow.
More information is given actually. So depending on
Wow.
our cognitive ability, this knowledge is revealed to us. But whatever is needed for our benefit is given. For example, somebody who was born during the time of Christ, if he truly followed what Jesus gave, then he will ascend. He will ascend and he'll get a higher body, a higher chance where he can
Yeah.
engage in more of that activity. Or he might even go back home, back to Godhead. Who knows? We can't decide that, right? He might
Yeah.
purify himself completely and completely remember the Lord all the time, 24 hours, and he might go. Or he might just remember Jesus all the time. And because wherever Jesus ended up back to Godhead. So you follow Jesus, you will also end up going there. It's the
Right.
same
Right.
idea.
Right.
That's why people say, "Oh, we follow Christ," which is really good. Really
Yeah.
good. We have no problems at all because that's
Right.
essentially the point. You follow a bona fide teacher. Don't follow teacher who are here to delude you. We should be
Mm.
able to understand who is a guru and who is teaching, because many people will come and give nonsense. Many people in
Yeah.
the name of Vedic tradition, they'll speak nonsense. They'll
Yeah.
use words from the Bhagavad Gita, words from the Vedas, but you're like, what is he trying to say, Or
Yeah.
people say, wow, he speaks so smoothly, I just love to hear him. But you don't
Mhm.
apply it, you don't know what they're talking about. They will never talk
Right.
about purification of desire. These
Right.
things are free. People charge, right? Hey, I'll charge 50,000 rupees or $50,000 for giving you this mantra. You can do this activity.
Yeah.
No, actual spiritual knowledge is free because it's actually
Right.
purification of desire. That's it.
Yeah. I think with luck we find the right guru.
Yeah, it's so our guru is Srila Prabhupada, right? For all of us,
Mhm,
because he gave us the
mhm,
Bhagavad Gita, he gave us these translations. So he acts as our
mhm,
Shiksha Guru. So if
mm,
you follow Shiksha Guru properly, then he leads us to. So anybody who is teaching us, right, they are Shiksha Gurus.
mhm.
And by following Shiksha Gurus, then we'll get a Diksha Guru who can then
Mm.
finally take care of our karmic reactions. Because the Diksha Guru has the agency, has the power that he can take care of our karmic reactions. In the yajna that happens and in the
Oh,
actions that are performed, all of our sins are burned actually at that point. So
oh.
we have become
What
completely clean.
yajna is that?
Huh?
What yajna is
So
that?
we do Harinam initiation, Harinam Yagya, then Brahman Diksha. So Diksha, ceremonies of Diksha that you go through, right? When a
Uh-huh.
true, genuine Guru accepts you as a disciple, when you follow, when you show discipline, when you follow that, then essentially you can actually get Diksha and then you can actually get rid of these reactions. So Krishna acts in
Oh,
various ways actually. That's also
interesting.
everything has a meaning. If you truly look at it, you'll realize that all
Mm,
of these activities have a meaning. And what are we trying to do? So
mm,
people might say, "Oh, we do Mahamrityunjaya Yagya, we do that Yagya." But what is the goal? What is the prayojan? Why are you doing it? Do you know why you are doing it? Right? That's the most
mm,
important thing. People say, "Oh,
mm,
we just do it because our family did it." No, that's not the point. Little Jiva, you have to know why you're doing certain things. Then
mm.
people take pride. Oh, we follow this tradition. We are Jains. We are this. We are that.
Yeah.
But what is the goal? That's the most important thing. If you truly understand the goal, that's when
Mm,
true magic starts happening. Otherwise, you're just following. If you say that, oh, I just want to be a good Hindu, I just want to be a good Muslim, I just want to be a good Christian, then that's what you're going to get in your next life. More opportunities
mm,
to be a good Hindu, to be a good Christian. More and more opportunities.
mm,
And if you get
mm,
distracted, because that's what you want. You don't want to go back to God, right? Many people,
mm.
when I give them Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam, or I tell them that, hey, come read with me, come chant with me,
Yeah,
engage.
yeah.
Oh, we already do that. We know it. We know we are born Hindus. We follow all of these
Um,
things. Well, that's what you'll get
um,
then. That's essentially where you're going up. That's why we are
yeah,
going back home and we are finding people
yeah,
who are willing to come on this journey. And if not, then we try to tell them that, hey, little Jiva, understand. This is this time, you are in this body, you are in this format. Achieve and go back home. Come with us, join
right,
us. So
right.
that's essentially the entire point. That's why Srila Prabhupada said that go out in the streets, tell everyone you meet that,
Mm,
hey, here is this knowledge available. Give them chance, whatever they are doing.
mm,
Some will get attracted, some will not. It doesn't matter. But who gets
mm.
attracted, they will get benefited out of it. It's as simple as that. This is the best kind of charity that is available. Giving somebody Srimad Bhagavatam, giving somebody Bhagavad Gita,
Yeah,
essentially giving somebody spiritual knowledge, because you give them food, they'll be happy for a while. You give them clothes, they'll be happy for a while as long as they're in the body. The body is gone, the jiva is gone. But you give them
yeah.
spiritual knowledge, it is said that the spiritual knowledge still goes with you even if you die. And you always
Oh,
start from where you ended up in the last time. So, for example, if I
uh-huh.
do a PhD today, next life I won't start. I don't have to start. I don't have to just start from a postdoc, right? I'll have to go back to kindergarten and go all the way up.
Right,
But
right,
if I
right.
progress in spiritual life, then in next life this knowledge continues, and I'll start from wherever I left off. So Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that in this path there is no loss or diminution, and even a small step can save you from the greatest type of danger. So even a
Wow,
small step here is a giant leap for your spiritual life. It's a
wow.
really a giant leap actually. So we start, so
Yeah,
there is really no loss in it, so we should take more advantage, most advantage, and that's essentially
yeah,
what we did in a previous lifetimes, that we came here,
yeah.
so that we probably have gotten some prasad or heard some kirtan or took some association of somebody who's an elevated soul,
Right.
and we are starting back from here. And let's say we end our life, let's say tonight we die, right? Let's say tonight or
Yeah,
tomorrow, then we'll start our next life immediately. We'll pick up from somebody, will come and give us a Bhagavad Gita, and essentially we'll resume from wherever we are, whichever life from
yeah,
wherever we are. So it
yeah.
just
I'll be
continues.
born in a household like that follows this.
Or in a household, yeah, Krishna explains that two things: either you get a very elevated birth with yogis or
Mm,
sages, or you get a birth in a household in which these practices are followed. So the very first, so that's why many children that are born today, the very first words they hear is the Hare Krishna mantra or
mm,
glories of God. Why? Because they have done all of these things. Some people are
mm,
quote verses left, right, and center. Why? Because they have done all of this in the past. So really, we should
yeah,
not be, we should not surprise us,
yeah,
right?
totally.
Okay, all right, Neelam. I guess we are at the end of our call. I hope the
Okay.
this was helpful.
Oh no, as always, it's so fantastic. So fun.
Perfect.
Thursdays I sleep peacefully. Seriously, because these thoughts keep going on in my head versus other thoughts, whatever we
Perfect.
discuss. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
So
it's just
read
fantastic.
every night before then. The best thing is then before sleeping for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, read some verses, read a purport. One verse and a purport, and then those thoughts will go. As
Yeah.
simple as that, right? So
Right.
that's essentially the end point actually. Our mind will, because our mind has been conditioned materially, it will bring us to material platform, but we got to raise it up every single time.
Right. Absolutely.
That's the goal essentially. The more we raise it up, the better we get. Otherwise, it will keep us here. So we
Yeah.
keep the holy vibrations going, right? Whether it's through scriptures or
Absolutely.
through chanting, right?
Right.
Karthik is a really
Right.
good month. It's starting in 2 days. If you want to pick up chanting, right, you can get beads, and you can
Yeah, I
start with,
have beads.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you can start with one round of Hare Krishna mantra, one full round,
Okay.
108. It takes 10 minutes, maybe 7 minutes actually. You can go.
Yeah.
For example, people, the scriptures tell you that you should at least chant 16 rounds, which takes around
Mm.
1.5 hours a day. So
Okay.
I do 16 every day, one and a half
Wow.
hours in the morning, and then you'll see the difference in your consciousness
Yeah.
because you're
Yeah.
coming in touch with the higher vibration. So it's a perfect
Right.
time to start it, and follow it, and then you'll feel it because you're essentially choosing that, my Lord, I choose you. Essentially, that's the mantra. The Hare Krishna
Yeah.
mantra means that Hare means that, oh, energy of the Lord, right?
Yeah.
Krishna, oh, Supreme Lord, please engage me in your service, please engage me in your association. That's essentially the meaning of the mantra. That's what we are saying.
Mm.
So we are
Mm.
saying that, my Lord, please bring me closer to you. Please bring me closer to you. Please bring me closer to you. And
Yeah.
essentially,
Yeah.
that's why elevated souls, you'll see them, they are chanting throughout the day. All the time they're chanting, right? All the time on their
Wow.
beats. Why? Because they're constantly in association with the Supreme. And that's the
Wow.
point. That's the end goal. So once you leave with that consciousness, you are with the Supreme all the time.
Yeah.
Right? So
Absolutely.
that's the
Absolutely.
goal. So it's a perfect time to start. Karthik is the best time. Nama Sankirtana Yagya. The
Yeah.
Bhagavatam says, Nama Sankirtanam Yasya Sarva Papa Pranashanam Pranama Dukha Shamanam Tam Namamim Harim Priyam. That
Mm.
it will take care of all Sarva Papa Pranashanam. All the papa, all negative activities, karmic reactions will all disappear just by coming in touch with the holy name. The holy name
Right.
is that powerful. And even Jesus
Yeah.
used to say, let the Lord always be on your lips. Always
Yes. Yes.
the Lord on your lips. Hallowed be thy name, right? Hallowed be thy
Right.
name. So keep
Thy
chanting. Keep
kingdom come. Yep.
Yeah, so that's the point. All
Thank you
right. Yeah, I'll
so
post
much.
the
Thank
recording
you.
also in case that might helps. That helps.
Okay.
And I'll
All
see you
right.
next time. Have a great evening,
Sounds
Neelam.
good.
See ya.
Thank you. You
Bye.
too.
Hare
Bye.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.